Hello, welcome to my kitchen table. I play a lot of video games and 2025 was no different, so I want to take this opportunity to talk about everything I played this year. Yes, everything. Games that came out this year, games that came out in previous years, the whole 9 yards. I think this is a good place to start because I plan to do this eventually forever, like every single year if I continue to do YouTube, but I don't have a very big following on this channel quite yet, and I haven't played that many games in comparisons to prior years. Like the past 5 years, I've played way more than I did this year, so I think this video shouldn't be too long, hopefully. I am going to loosely rank them, just if I talk about it first, that means I liked it the least. If I talked about it last, that's the one I like the most. I will be mixing in old games that I played for the first time this year, and I'm going to be excluding replays just to make this a little simpler. That's not really going to make a big difference. I played mostly new releases this year, and I think that's a bit of a problem. So look out in the coming week on this channel for my plan about how I'm going to tackle my backlog and specifically make sure I am keeping myself accountable by playing older stuff, because I played 4 old games this year. I played like close to 30 games total. Not a great ratio. Let's go ahead. I'm going to start with my very first game here, Ghost of Yotei. Let's make one thing very clear here. The reason I don't like Ghost of Yotei has nothing to do with the protagonist, about any culture war bullshit you might think. None of that. I don't like this game because I don't think it's a very good video game. Ghost of Tsushima is a game I find to be pretty overrated, and although it looks really good on the surface, but when you start diving into it, I think the combat is very generic and also just not very interesting overall. The narrative is very super by the numbers samurai stuff, and the open world feels extremely superficial when it just kind of comes to you and says, hey, there's a thing over there. We didn't let you explore to find it. We're just gonna throw a fox your way and they're gonna tell you exactly where to go, or we're gonna have the wind start changing and we'll just lead you exactly where we want you to. I think it's a game that struggles with its open world identity, and I think it would have done way better as a much shorter, much more contained samurai story, rather than this big open world with multiple different play styles, quote unquote. Ghost of Yotei does literally everything I just said, and I think that's why I don't like it even more. When you take 5 years to develop a sequel and none of the points of frustration get any better, they're just double downed on, I'm not here for it. Even the stuff the game does right, like the art direction, I found to be much more superficial, and they really didn't quite understand what makes samurai movies tick. They just kind of went, hey, there's samurai showdowns, and then we're gonna play the same sequence of events whenever there's like a big sword battle. And yeah, that's what samurai movies look like, right? Without really any care into all the specifics. It's really hard to explain, but I don't think this game understands why samurai movies work, and it really wants to be one. It wants to be taken so seriously as this awesome samurai experience, and it just doesn't get there for me. I want to like a game that is directly based on Kurosawa stuff. They do such nothing with it. There really isn't that much more than what you would expect from it, and that really bums me out. And I really want Sucker Punch to either get their stuff together or make another Infamous or something new completely. Next up, I have the game that I've played the most recently, having finished it literally only 2 days ago. Metroid Prime 4. Listen, I know a lot of people are liking this game, and of course, they probably find fault with it as well. If you're liking it, I'm really glad that you are. As somebody who has played most Metroid games, 2 of the Metroid Primes, God, I mean, are we really still doing it like this? I understand a lot of the context here, and I don't blame Retro Studios for being kind of thrown into a project that they weren't ready to take on and having to build their studio and also build the game around a model that just doesn't quite fit this format. And the end product is a little shaky at the end, right? Okay, I can totally understand that, and I sympathize with Retro. The game just isn't very good. We have to take it for what it is. And to me, Metroid Prime 4 is a really big disappointment and just does not understand Metroid really at all. There aren't really any new big changes to your powers or really any new powers. You get the same power-ups and you solve the same puzzles, and I don't feel like anything was really surprising me the entire time. The game looks pretty, and I think that's the best thing it has going for it, this environmental design. But the way that the world is made, it's that you have these like 5 levels stapled at the edges of the map of this barren, empty desert that's just awful to explore. And those levels aren't even very good. They're much more linear and just not as engaging as areas. And that's not necessarily a problem if it felt like this world was like a cohesive unit where you're going between environments rather than just some guy radioing you on the phone and being like, you should go back to the snowy mountain next. Like, there was no way for me to explore anything because why would I be exploring there? It's a level I've already done halfway across the map, you know what I mean? There are some fundamental flaws with this game, more than I've even talked about here, that really soured this experience, and I wish Metroid Prime 4 got a better shake, and I understand that it's been a troubled development cycle, but it didn't work. It really didn't work for me, and if it worked for you, I'm glad, but I will be patiently waiting, hoping they get to make a Prime 5 and do it from the ground up. But for me, Prime 4 it's a bit of a dud. I have never been more vindicated in my life when Split Fiction did not make Game of the Year. I think it's noble that Hazelight love to make multiplayer games, and they prioritize the multiplayer experience. They give you like free copies to play with your friends, yada, yada, yada. That's great. Couch co-op, they love to focus on that. That's amazing. They made the same game like 3 times in a row at this point. Outside of the ending of this game, nothing about it makes me go, wow, that was really cool. I'm glad that these years of experience that they've had making these kind of multiplayer games have made them continuously evolve the formula. To me, this is just It Takes Two, really. Does that mean it has really good level design and it's a fun gameplay loop? Yeah, sure. But the general premise of this game is a lot less interesting, and it's also just super ironic that this game has so many very generic sci-fi and fantasy plots and ideas put into it, and it's a game that's about preserving art and creativity. The point of being like hey, let's steal ideas from developers, that's obviously great, but I feel like you actually need to go above and beyond and show why a human being needs to be the one that develops something like this. They try, but I just think the writers at Hazelight really need to take a step back and try to do something a little more interesting than these very basic premises. You're making me do a 12-hour game where I'm playing with somebody else and I'm scheduling time to play with them, and the most you can come up with is, we need to put aside our differences to work together. I got that part. I got that part without having to play the video game. I want you to tell me something about this experience that I was not expecting. And I think that's why I'm like kind of pissed at this game, because yeah, it's got some annoying stuff and whatnot, but it's so content with just not being something that it could be. It's very basic. It's very safe. And I think that it makes me mad. They've been doing this for like a decade, and they cannot get past very basic stuff. I did not get anything out of this game that I didn't think I was going to get out of It Takes Two before I even played either of them. You know what I mean? I want more out of the big couch co-op multiplayer games that come out every once in a while. Like, there is so much potential here, and I think that Hazelight are just okay with not reaching it, and I'm not okay with it. And I'm gonna give it a bad, like, I'm gonna be negative about it because I really want them to do more. If you saw my video on my other channel about Desert Islands, which of course you should watch right now if you haven't seen it, you know that I love Hyrule Warriors. I was very excited for Age of Imprisonment because I just love the Warriors games with the Zelda format. I really like Age of Calamity because it made the Warriors like moment-to-moment combat a lot better. I like the original Hyrule Warriors because it's got that more like strategic like base camp stuff that you go all the way around the map and it feels like a war. Age of Calamity I feel like has a much better like moment-to-moment gameplay where like your boots on the ground and it's like more fun to play more often. Age of Imprisonment is the sequel to Age of Calamity, so it goes a lot more in that direction, and I've been a little more disillusioned with that style. I think I actually like the idea of these like big wars you have to like manage the battlefield in real time with like your skill, rather than just like kind of set dressing for a much more linear action game. Age of Imprisonment I still liked fine enough, but I think the reason I look back on Age of Calamity better is because even if the story there was not canon and, you know, could have been better, it at least was interesting, and it also brought in a lot of characters that you really like from Breath of the Wild. Like, all of the character selection in that game is super, super good. The character selection here is really questionable. Half the roster are these new made-up characters that you can swap their weapons out, and they just don't have that much impact on anything in the narrative at all. Maybe I'm missing something. You also, like, can't play as the villains. Like, I don't think you can play as Ganondorf unless I, like, didn't go far enough after the credits. Really weird, bizarre choices here. I really wanted to like this game more than I did, but the gameplay just wasn't hitting for me, the narrative wasn't hitting for me, the characters just weren't as interesting or cool. I was really let down by this one. I think it could have been a lot better, and I wish it was. That's kind of all I have to say. I love Hyrule Warriors. I just think this is my least favorite out of all of them. Skyward Sword is a game that I was really ready to defend with my life because I actually do like motion controls when they're done really well. Skyward Swords are done okay. I think it's not a negative that it has motion controls. Maybe it has a little too much, but that's neither here nor there. This is not a bad game. It's a fun game. It's got a couple of pretty good dungeons, but it's a long game, and it's one that feels like it doesn't really know what it wants to be. I like the idea of being able to go into a dungeon or a world and then coming back later with more abilities and a different gimmick and kind of like reshaping the way it is, but I don't think it was interesting enough to do a third time with way less effort put in on the last go around. And then like really only one world I really liked. I liked the sand world a lot. The rest of them I really don't even remember. To be completely honest with you. I find Skyward Sword to be a little less interesting than the other Zeldas. You know, I played Twilight Princess all the way through for the first time last year, and I was expecting not to like it nearly as much as I did. Old 3D Zelda doesn't hook me as much as it used to as a kid, but I actually really liked a lot of the unique items and dungeons and stuff. But in this game, I think using the items is really clunky. A lot of them don't feel great, partially because of the motion controls, but partially because it's got like more like physics-based stuff. Not really, it's harder to describe, but they aren't as straightforward, and because of that, they feel way less precise and not as like well thought out every step of the way. It's a good game. It is a good game. If you haven't played it and you like Zelda, you should play it, but just know that there is a reason why people don't think of this game super highly compared to the Zelda pantheon, because it is a bit of a hot mess, and it doesn't stick the landing everywhere. It's not the Zelda with the best soundtrack, it's not the Zelda with the best art direction, it's definitely not the Zelda with the best game design. It's just kind of there. And it's a good game because it's Zelda, but it's just there. This is technically not the first time that I've played Cyberpunk because I put in like 35 hours or so when the game came out. I was lucky enough to have a PS5 already when it came out, so I was playing on not a more stable build, but a better running build for sure, because it was the PS4 version, because the PS5 version wasn't out yet. And I really gave it a good shot with that game, but I did not like it at the time. So when they were like, hey, Switch 2, Cyberpunk's coming, it's all on Kart, which is awesome, I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna go, hey, this is my time to play Cyberpunk. There is not a better time for me to play this game. And I was kind of vindicated a little bit about how I felt about the game originally. It has been updated a lot, and the game ran really well on the Switch 2, but I think the core experience still has a lot of the DNA of just not being ready for market. Cyberpunk's side content is pretty bad and pretty boring. I think Cyberpunk's main game, its side content, even a little bit of its story is not great, and leaves a little bit to be desired, and you don't really know that until you play the DLC. Phantom Liberty is legitimately one of the best DLCs I've ever played, and I think it is a glimpse into what the entire game of Cyberpunk was supposed to be like. All the characters are memorable, awesome. Every decision you make, I feel like, has a much more tangible change on the gameplay and the story, and all of the side stuff is way more interesting and thought out and complex than anything in the main game. I think a good example is like the gigs in the main game. Somebody will call you and go, hey, go get this thing, and you'll go get the thing for them. It's like, okay, go to the Dropbox and get your reward. Cool. The gigs in Phantom Liberty are like, hey, go do this thing, and then you kind of find out a little bit about that location and like why people are there and everything. And then there's like a twist, like there's some guy who is locked up because they locked him up, and then you have to decide if you want to trust him or not, and maybe you should turn him in and get a reward there, or maybe you get a different reward if you let him go. Like, that is like way more interesting and cool, and that's all throughout the Phantom Liberty DLC. Everything in Phantom Liberty, I think, is Cyberpunk realized properly. If it was not for Phantom Liberty, I don't really think I would like this game very much. But I got to play it, and I'm really glad that I did. And if I were to like rate these separately, I think Phantom Liberty would be like way higher up on my list, and I think Cyberpunk would be like scraping the bottom. I was legitimately impressed by it, and I'm glad that I got the whole Cyberpunk experience 5 years later, and I got to experience Phantom Liberty. So I'm fine. I'm satisfied with my time with Cyberpunk. I played the entire thing on Switch, did not cross-save anything, and it was a good experience. It crashed on me a couple times, but it was totally fine. As much as I'd really love to have everything physical, sometimes that isn't feasible. I play a lot of games on Game Pass, or at least I did before they upped their prices, and I also will play games that don't have a physical release. I'm not gonna not play something just because it doesn't come out physically. A lot of times developers, they don't really have like a good way to get a physical release out without at least having the game out there and then making their money back and then making a physical release down the line. I'll try to get those when I can, but I'm not gonna not play something just because it's only digital. If I'd done that, I would have missed out on stuff like Alan Wake 2 for like a whole year, and that game is awesome. Like, I'm really glad I didn't. So I'm gonna talk about the not that many games that are digital. Here, I was gonna do a whole weird setup where I like filmed both my monitors, but it didn't frame quite right. So I'm just gonna do you, me, the green screen, all that jazz, and you'll get some footage this way. So let's talk about Sword of the Sea real quick. So I love Abzu. It is a really great game. It is super pretty, but it tells this very brief but moving story. It keeps you going. It gets in, it gets out. It's great. I love that game so much. The Pathless, which is their next game, I struggle with the Pathless. I think it is a fine game. It tries to be more of a narrative and more of a game all at the same time, and it kind of doesn't really make it on either front. There's some really frustrating aspects with the gameplay. The narrative, it's very basic and bland and not really my thing. So the Pathless didn't really quite hit for me, and I was weary going into Sword of the Sea. And I think I like Sword of the Sea more than the Pathless, but I think it gets nowhere near the level that Abzu does, for me at least. It is a pretty game, and I think it does a better job telling its story. It doesn't try to force any dialogue or anything like that. I think it's a much better way to do it, but at the same time, I think there was a bit of like an emotional like block. Sound design was a little all over the place, and it felt like some sounds were just like really muted or just not well crafted enough to make you excited or feel properly what it's trying to convey to you. Now, are those the two biggest things that typically matter? No. But in a game like this, where it's a lot more about sitting back, taking in the sights and the sounds, obviously, if one of those parts isn't quite up to snuff, the game isn't going to hit as hard. So really, Sword of the Sea, it's fun. It's fun to just glide around, of course, but it really just left me as like yeah, that was a fun way to spend 2.5 hours, rather than Abzu, which is something that I think about all the time. I really think about certain sequences in Abzu. Sword of the Sea has just kind of left me since I played it, and I'm glad I played it because I do like this developer a lot, but I couldn't help but be a little let down by it at the end of the day. We're all going to be very mature about this, okay? Clair Obscur has faced a lot of controversy and discourse, and I just want to say that I do like this game. I think it is a pretty good game. It is a good way to spend however long. I played it for 20 hours. That is a good way to spend 20 hours, if not more. It has an amazing soundtrack, probably the best of the year. It has great art direction, and it's got a really fun combat system. Like, it's got a lot going for it that like really make me appreciate a lot of the stuff with it. However, this is a AA game, and a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it really doesn't feel like that. It really feels like it's a AAA game. I think you're virtue signaling a little bit. I think it's absolutely clear that it is a AA game. That's not inherently a problem. There are plenty of AA games that are awesome. My mind goes to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown from last year. That game is amazing. It really hones in, like, it has a really good scope, right? The scope, it doesn't try to be anything that it's not, and it really fine-tunes and crafts what's there. It's great on top of all the gameplay and everything. Like, it is a great game. Clair Obscur really wants to be a serious AAA game. And if you are trying to be a AAA game, you have to look like you have the resources to get it done. What I struggle with this game is that the big narrative, the big emotional narrative is told through mocap and voice acting and everything like that. And if your tech isn't quite there to make the faces feel real enough, or your blocking, or your shot composition, or whatever the film stuff that makes these scenes interesting, if that's not there, I'm not going to be as invested in the story you're trying to tell me, even if it's good. Clair Obscur, I think, fails in these departments, and it really did not grab me until way further in than it grabbed most people. And I think that's a good point. I'm not most people. I understand that I am a bit of an outlier here. If this didn't happen for you, if it worked completely for you, you're valid, and that is totally fine. Don't even don't worry your little head about it. I don't care. That's totally okay. But for me, it didn't quite hit like I think it was supposed to, and I wasn't really invested. And if the combat was like super all-encompassing, like way better than everything else, probably wouldn't have cared, right? But I think the combat is, you know, it's 4 dudes in a line with action commands. Like, it's a JRPG. It was fun. I liked it more than I like most JRPGs. But at the end of the day, it still is like a regular old JRPG with a damage cap that comes in before the end of the game that makes you stop building your characters like the way you wanted to build them and completely reshape how you're supposed to play the game until the damage cap is removed. But that's a whole other thing I've not heard anyone talk about, and I don't know why. It is a good game. I understand why it won Game of the Year. In fact, I think it probably deserved it with just how big this game was, how inspiring the story is. You know, again, controversy aside, like, it makes so much sense why Clair Obscur just kind of swept through everything. And this game is not going away. Like, people are going to be talking about this game forever. It just wasn't where I really needed it to be to, like, really care that much. And here's where I need to give another disclaimer about the quality or how much I liked a game. Guys, I did like Doom: The Dark Ages, okay? I know I'm about to complain about it. I understand, but I did really like Doom: The Dark Ages. I just fucking love Doom Eternal. And the thing about the Dark Ages is that it feels like a couple steps back. Like, Eternal has like a nearly perfect gameplay loop, and I applaud them for trying something different. Like, it does feel very different from Eternal and Doom 2016, and of course all the old ones, right? But I just don't think they got it right this time. It's not just the gameplay loop that isn't up to snuff. They made these big, more open levels that you're going to be walking around a lot more open space with less going on. There are ways that they've been able to, like, oh, you can travel faster with the shield bash and everything, but overall it felt a little, I don't know, like, I did not really vibe with that design. I did not like the parry mechanic. It felt really, really powerful and really easy, and the combat really did just kind of become, make sure you parry correctly, and that was it. And just all the extra stuff in this game. The narrative is so drawn out and just not very good and not interesting. The boss fight at the end is like a joke, like it's kind of pathetic. The dragon sections are really clunky and awkward and really tacked on. Like, I didn't like them very much at all. I know I'm being very negative, and I like this game. I like the art direction, of course. It's Doom, for God's sakes. They made it medieval. Like, that's just sick, right? It's a little Reddit chungus, but it's fine, it's doomed, it gets a pass, right? I wanted it to be more. I wanted to like this more, and I did like it, but it kind of like fumbled at the finish line. Like I was really on board before the game came out. The game came out and I was like, yep, that was good. I enjoyed my time. I wish it had the punch that Eternal did. Or just even close to it. It doesn't have to have the same punch, just I wish it got into that echelon of like quality. I think it's crazy to think that maybe one of the most controversial games I'm going to talk about in this whole thing is Mario Kart. Yeah, $80. Yep, you're looking at it with your eyes. I did buy Mario Kart World separately. My Switch 2 did not come with Mario Kart World because I wanted this thing on cart because I like physical media. Sue me. Was it worth $80? Well, to me, I got to play the new Mario Kart that I've been waiting 11 years for right away and have a fantastic time with it. So, yes. Yeah, for me, I have no regrets. But then again, I never really regret buying stuff at full price if I play it right away. That's just kind of how I operate. I understand this is a bit of a different case. This game is really fun. And it has some cracks, and at first I wasn't seeing the cracks, or I was kind of ignoring them. Later on I realized, is this one of the best Mario Karts ever made? Maybe, maybe not. Like, I think it has a really, really good moment-to-moment gameplay, and it was really fun. It captivated me a lot. I don't think Mario Kart is a bad game. I just think that I would love this game more 10 years ago. I'm no longer in the point of my life where casual multiplayer is something that I like to do very often, and I just did it a lot because Mario Kart is so polished and so good. If Mario Kart was a completely new franchise, I don't know if I would really care to even like really try this that much. In fact, I have Kirby Air Riders, but I haven't played it at all this year because I just got it for Christmas. But I'm a little afraid with that one that I'm not really going to care so much because I've never played Kirby Air Riders before, and I just don't really vibe with that casual competitiveness that I used to in the past. So Mario Kart World is in a really weird spot where I think it is a really great game with a couple of glaring flaws, and it should be higher on my list. I just don't care for it as much. Again, great game. I liked it a lot. I've played it a lot too. It just doesn't hit me in the same way that a lot of games that I've played this year have. So yeah, Mario Kart World, hopefully it gets some good DLC. I'll definitely go back in if they add some new tracks and whatnot. It was a good launch title, and I'm not upset with this game. Okay, Keeper. Double Fine are one of my favorite studios. I love the Psychonauts games, and I love Grim Fandango. And, some of them don't really hit. I think Brutal Legend is a game that I should really like, but when I played it, I was a little off-put by it. I don't think it was like a very... Doesn't matter. Keeper is a smaller project. It was never going to be like the highs of Double Fine, but what you really see here is, does Keeper have the best art direction of the year? I kind of think so. I love the look and feel of this game. It's got like such a tactile, like almost claymation stop motion look with these like psychedelic environments and effects. It is such a cool blend. Like nothing really looks like this game. And I think a lot of people have just kind of like forgot this came out because they didn't really make a big splash. They didn't really try to market it that much. And I think that's a damn shame. Is this the most fun game ever? No, it's a pretty basic like walking sim. And the puzzles aren't anything to write home about, but they're enjoyable and it keeps you on your toes. It introduces new elements and then like kind of changes how you move around the environment. It's only like 4 hours long and I think that's a perfect length. It's a good time. I mean, it's just like a good time all around. It's nothing like mind-blowing, but it's something that I wish more people were like turned on to because it is a really good experience. And if you get it on sale, I think it's like a really good value too. So if this is like your kind of style where you just kind of like walk around, solve a couple puzzles, and then you're over, this is like a great time. And I think you should pick this game up. In my head all year, I've been really mean to Monster Hunter Wilds because it is no Monster Hunter World. It is no Monster Hunter 4. At the end of the day, even if it is like probably my least favorite Monster Hunter I've played, still a damn good time. We gotta tell these motherfuckers at Capcom to like stop making these stories just in general. They just don't know what they're doing. They're just not very good. They take up too much time. And I think that the narrative actually really hurt this game. It wasn't real Monster Hunter to me. The gameplay loop is fun in theory, although I think the wound system is like really overdone and you can just keep weak spotting monsters over and over and over again. I feel like they could have toned it down a little bit. But my problem is with the structure. It's you don't actually have to study the monster or redo fights very often because it's really easy to just keep getting swept up in the main story and like not ever have to do the core gameplay loop before the end game. The other Monster Hunter games, even the newer ones, you do have to like do quests over again and get armor sets and get new armor and weapons. This one, really not so much. I mean, yes, you kind of have to, but I think the game's difficulty is not bad to the point where you aren't encouraged necessarily to do all the good, like the actual gameplay loop that you're here for. And to me, it's really damning as well because the fights and the monsters in this game are awesome. I think the locations are also really cool, but the worst part, and like there's a glimpse of what the game could have been in the end game. Once the credits have initially rolled and there's that period before like the big final monster at the end, which I'm completely blanking on the name of right now, you are left to your own devices a little bit. It says, hey, you go fight stuff that you want to fight. Whenever you fight something, you get more progress towards your next hunter level. Once you hit the next hunter level, then you can progress the story. Is that not the perfect structure for a Monster Hunter game? Why is that not the whole game? Basically going, hey, what armor sets do you want to go for? What weapons do you want to go for? Go ahead, do that. Whatever you do, you're always making progress. And then once you get a certain point, to continue going on and find new areas and monsters, you have to do what we want you to do. I think that is what Monster Hunter should be going for in this like open world idea. The open world here is really not much, and I think they could have done a lot more with like the hordes and stuff and finding monsters by yourself. I'm just a little disappointed with Wilds, and I think it's a really good game, but it kind of fumbled a little bit in the parts where I really needed it not to. And it kind of sucks because I've been playing the series for like over a decade now, and I've wanted more. I've wanted so much more out of Wilds, and it's a good game, but it left such a sour taste in my mouth. I really wanted more out of this game. I know I'm a little negative all the way this high in the list, but it is like really good. The Monster Hunter formula is still pretty good. I got Silent Hill 2 for Christmas last year, and I got to play it early this year. And I really, really liked it. I was not expecting to like this as much as I did because, you know, Bloober Team have not had the best track record before this game, but it seems like they did a really good job with Silent Hill 2. And what I really appreciate about Silent Hill is that it trusts you to break down its themes and its symbolism without bashing them over your head. I think this treats you like an adult, and a lot of video games really don't. It goes, hey, you see that character that's having like a breakdown, or, you know, the way that they interact with James or anything like that. What do you think that means? That is like, it's just so much better, especially for something that has like a mystery like this, the horror like this. It's much more intriguing to break the narrative down when it's really just letting you do it yourself. And it feels much more gratifying when you're done. You know, I really like Silent Hill 2, and I remember so much about the narrative and the cutscenes and everything and the atmosphere in general because it doesn't like shove it down your throat, which I think is very rare nowadays. The gameplay is whatever. It's fine. You know, the puzzles are good. Like it feels like a Resident Evil game. I don't know if Silent Hill 2, the original, is supposed to feel like that, but I like Resident Evil, and this feels like more serious Resident Evil. If you like Silent Hill and I'm calling this a Resident Evil game and you want to shoot me, I totally understand. I feel like I might be talking out of my ass here. But I like this game a lot. I was really impressed, and I kind of want to go back and play the original now, because I just want to see like what it even was like back then. I kind of just don't even understand what I'm looking at when I look at Silent Hill 2 footage. The puzzles are so obtuse and everything is, it's easier to understand third person behind the shoulder camera, you know? Speaking of Silent Hill F came out this year, and I was really blown away by the narrative on this one as well. I will say this is probably my favorite narrative of the year. I think it does a lot of really cool stuff with not just like the general, like, you know, how women were treated in like 1960s Japan. I think like the like body horror stuff can be read in like multiple different ways. And I find this, again, like it's Silent Hill, I just talked about it. It's a breath of fresh air to play a game that came out this year that trusts me to dive into its symbolism and its themes without explicitly saying it. It's going, hey, we're going to give you all the pieces like a puzzle game, and then you can figure it out and you can come up with your own interpretation. Yes, 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 thank you. Mwah. Thank you, Silent Hill F. I'm gonna wipe away my kiss. And you know, the gameplay is fine. Like, you're not really here for the moment-to-moment gameplay. I do find that this one got a little more obnoxious by the end, where it just kept throwing combat gauntlets at you, and I'm like, guys, can we stop? I get it. This is not what this game is supposed to be about. That was making me a little mad, and I think a lot more areas in this game are a little more pressed for resources. I can't remember if I played this on hard or normal. But I was definitely feeling some difficulty in certain areas. I'm pretty sure I played on hard now that I'm saying it. I really like this game. I was really surprised by it. I'm glad that I got to play it. I'm glad it got made. It's like a different studio, I think, than what would typically make a Silent Hill game. I hope they keep giving them a chance, because I think they did a really good job here. I could not put down Death Stranding 2 for a long time. I went home over the summer for a little bit, and I brought my PlayStation because I was playing Death Stranding 2, and I just could not stop playing it. Like, every day I was just playing this for like 10 hours. Like, I was so invested. I loved doing all the extra like infrastructure building and making sure my world was great, and trying to get all like the 5 stars with everybody. Like, I played this for a really, really long time, and I had a really good time with it when I was playing it. Looking back, I think that this game kind of abandoned the abrasiveness of the first Death Stranding, and I think I kind of appreciate that a little more than what we got here, which is like more of a sandbox. Did I have a good time? Yeah. Was it challenging me in many ways? Not really. I feel like this was a bit of a breeze to get through, and you know, Kojima's storytelling got, I guess, a little better from the first one, but it's definitely not anything to write home about. I don't know. It's a great game. I had a lot of fun with it. There aren't many moments that I can remember specifically. I just remember kind of like the whole thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing for all games, but the reason I think it might be a little bit of a negative here is that I played the original Death Stranding all the way through this year, and I can remember way more really cool things that game does compared to what this game does. Speaking of, Death Stranding is a game I've had a really interesting relationship with. I started playing it when it came out in 2019, and I liked it, but I kind of stopped pretty early. Then I restarted it when COVID hit, and I got into the mountains, and by that point I was getting pissed. I was like, the narrative is not good. I thought it was like really BS and dumb. I hated this part where it's like, hey, by the way, you can't see the BTs anymore, and you're in the snow, and everything is deteriorating super fast, and you have to go really, really slow through the mountains. I was getting mad. Okay, I put it down and I said, Death Stranding, you are not a game for me. But then Death Stranding 2 was announced, and I said, I think it's time to come back, and I'm very glad that I did. Kojima made a really big risk here, and after finally like sinking my teeth into this game, I understand what it's about. It's a game about infrastructure. It is not a game about putting everything on your back and just like trying to walk on 2 feet everywhere you go. It's a game about building connections and setting yourself up for success. And I think that when you look at it like that, it makes so much more sense. The goal is to make the game easier on yourself. How do you do that? You go to other locations and get more materials, and you slowly build up this world that you're basically let loose into a couple hours into the game. I built all the roads, I built like all the whatever. I don't think they had monorails in that game, but everything that it let me build, and like I had a big zip line like infrastructure throughout the whole world. It was great. It was great, and I really got it. Like, I really understood what made this game super special. Did the narrative do anything for me this time? Absolutely not. 100% no. I think Kojima needs a little bit more hand-holdy to be like, hey, brother, there's good writing and then there's good storytelling, and you've only got one of them right now, and it's definitely not the telling part. It's got a really cool world. I really like the environments of Death Stranding. This game in particular is really interesting because all the environments look the same on paper, but they're so well crafted that if you showed me a screenshot of anywhere in the world. I could be like, oh, I know where that is. I know what part of the game is supposed to be. I know why it's challenging, right? And I think that's why this game is really sticking with me in my head. I don't think I could do that with any other game where I could go, I know exactly where you are, even though everything is like a rocky green mountain. I can go, yeah, I know where that is. I know why that's interesting. You know, like I know what part of the game I got to it. Isn't that crazy that a game can like have that impact on you and like be that fine-tuned that just like rocks? I go, yep, I know exactly where I am. It's really good, and I'm glad I finally like got into it, and I finally got it this year. Will Death Stranding 3 ever be made? I don't know. He's working on a lot of stuff, but I don't know if he wants to keep doing Death Stranding. I would like another one, but I'm totally content with this one. I think he did a really good job on this original game. Guys, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about Blueprints. I loved it. I love Blueprints. It is so cool. It's so interesting. I know a lot of people are like, I don't know how well the gameplay loop works. It's really interesting, but a lot of times you're going through the house over and over without any real objective. And I never found it that way. I thought every single run that I did was building me towards more solutions, more mysteries. You know, it's so cool. And I've never played a game like Blueprints, and I think it is like really awesome that they're able to surprise me. You know, like being surprised by your gameplay loop in 2025, I think is such a compliment to go like, you've done something that I haven't seen before, and games have been around for 45 years plus at this point. Like, bravo. And I think what's my favorite part about Blueprints, of course, is that like this big mystery and like all the things with the house and like the country and like the conflict and all of this that's like not as important to like you walking around the house, you know? You don't have to find it all. You don't have to engage with everything. And I love when I still find intrigue and just being like, I'm satisfied that I didn't find everything and I didn't do anything, because it kind of keeps that air of mystery. And I think the game really wants you to figure it out by yourself and not just, you know, look at a guide or stumble into it that way. Like, it really does go, hey, just find it. Go walk through the house more. And, you know, I didn't really have the time to do that. I wanted to play other things, but it was such a good experience. Like, I brought this on my laptop on the plane, and I was like, because I went to go see my grandma, whatever, you know, awesome. What? That was crazy. I love my grandma. Anyways, and I was just like glued. I was like, 3-hour plane ride, do not care. I like Blueprints the whole time, like 30 FPS, 0 resolution on my laptop, but I made it work. It was awesome. I love this game. I think this game has like a special place in my heart for just like the time that I was playing it, the way I was playing it. It's a great game, and it should have gotten more flowers. I know it did get a lot, like a lot of people were talking about it when it came out. You gotta play it. You gotta play Blueprints. Even if you don't vibe with it, you gotta at least say you tried it. It's cool. So with Blueprints, I might have been talking a lot about gameplay loops that really surprised me. Elden Ring Nightreign really snuck up on me this year. I played it when it came out a little bit. I wasn't really feeling it. I didn't quite understand, but I kind of pestered some of my other friends to try it, give it a shot. They weren't really like, you know, they're a little hesitant. They didn't know if they wanted to spend the money. Turns out I was the one of all my friends who played this the least. And I have, 70 hours in it? Nightreign kind of grabbed hold of us, and we kept playing it over and over again. The coolest part about Nightreign is that it's not really speedrunning per se, but it is those kind of fundamentals about like optimization and squeezing the most out of everything that you're doing at one time that make this so interesting and so unique. I feel like there are not many other multiplayer games that work quite like Nightreign. Obviously, there's like a little bit of DNA from like a lot of different stuff, like battle royales and whatnot, but none of them really work like Nightreign does, and all the pieces put together really create this unique experience that I don't know if anyone else other than FromSoft like could have come up with. I think it works really well with their engine and their gameplay and everything like that. Like, I feel like it is a perfect fit. I know a lot of people aren't vibing with it, even if you like Elden Ring or Souls or anything like that. But I think a lot more people, one of my friends has never played a Souls game before, and he's put way more time into this than I have. So I think it's really cool to have like a different type of experience with this combat in this gameplay loop. Hats off to them. Like, I really think this game is something special. And if you didn't like quite get it when it first came out, I beg you, give it another try, get some friends together. It's so cool. Like, I think it is such a cool game. I don't know how else to describe it. Elden Ring is cool. FromSoft are cool. Sorry guys, like, hate to be the bearer of bad news. Next, I had the game that had me yelling zebra throughout my entire house. Donkey Kong Bananza. This one's good. This is a good one. Bananza didn't grab me right away. I feel like its opening levels are very calm and open. And I was like, are we really just going to be like sandbox? You know, the game is fun. And, you know, the Mario team really have a really good grasp on animation and like the game feel. Once you get a little before the middle, it's when things start getting interesting. The worlds get a little bit more complex. You get more mechanics that are introduced, and then every subsequent level introduces more, and it gets more interesting. And then there's like a cool idea, like, oh, how about the trash pit that you just keep going down? You have to get rid of everything on your way, and then you're kind of creating your way down and your platforms down. That's a really cool idea. What about this like big amusement park that's like super sprawling and has like transportation that you can use to get around? That's like also a really good jungle gym of like platforming and puzzle solving. Bananza doesn't show you its hand right away, but by the end it's like, oh my god, it was all aces the entire time. Like, I actually am really impressed that this game was able to win me back, right? Because I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a fun time. Like, obviously it's like a 3D Mario. But, you know, 3D platformers, I don't like them typically as much as 2D platformers, but I do think that Bananza is one of the finest, like, well-crafted 3D platformers that I've played in a very, very long time, that gets it right in the visual department, in the sound department, in the gameplay department, literally everything. Bananza is a treat, has a really good ending as well. I like this game a lot, and I think a lot of people are going to call it, like, kind of like a sugar high, or like one of these like pick up for a little bit and then put it down. I could not put this down. Like, I really wanted to keep going and keep solving the problems and the puzzles and doing all the platforming. It's great. This game is really, really good. I waited a year and a half to play Hades 2 again. And I waited even longer so I could get this physically on Switch 2. And I put 80 hours into it this year. I don't know what more needs to be said. I love the original Hades. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Hades 2 is neck and neck right up there. The narrative, sure, isn't as good, but I think the moment-to-moment gameplay is a lot more interesting, and I would much rather play this one for hours on end than the first one. This is one of the best, like, regular old sequels that I've played in a while. It really just goes, hey, remember that formula? Well, let's just keep it intact, but let's make sure we improve and iterate on everything that needs it and leave what works there. And I think they've done a phenomenal job. There's so much in this game to do. Not everything works. Again, the narrative doesn't work. I think the Chaos Trials are a bit of a missed opportunity, but overall this game is such a phenomenon. Like, I really do think that this is an awesome game. I put over 100 hours combined with the early access in it, and it really is also a testament of how well that early access period works for Supergiant. They go, hey, we know we have the funding for our game. Early access is not for funding, it's for saying, let's make sure this gameplay loop is as good as it possibly could be. And they are actually like one of the only developers, I think, that really take so much into heart and then go, by the way, we're actually going to launch full release very relatively soon, and it's coming out physical, and we're going to make a big stink about it. And I think it's no surprise why this game has such a high Metacritic. It's the highest Metacritic game of the year, I'm pretty sure. It's undeniable. Hades 2 is completely undeniable. You play this game, you get hooked. You'll never want to put it down. I sure as hell didn't. I got through the epilogue. I never actually got through the epilogue of Hades because I was not giving anyone nectar and I was not building any relationships. It would have taken a very long time. This game, it's way harder to do that, and I got almost all the relationships maxed out. I just could not get Icarus to talk to me. I love this game. I love this game so much. What a good game. What a good game. What can I say? Silksong is my game of the year. Somehow, against all odds, back-to-back game of the years for me were Metroidvanias. I don't even like Metroidvanias that much. I think I've started to realize that I like them more than I think I do. Hollow Knight Silksong is such a monumental achievement. It says, remember that first game? That game that everybody loves? What if we did that, but we like made it harder, made it more abrasive, just put filled it to the brim before any of the DLC has even come out. It's just so good. Like, this game was surprising me at every corner. So many amazing boss fights, so many amazing areas, the way that the map moves into itself. You think that the game is done and there's a secret act 3 and you think you found all the areas, but sorry, bozo, there's like 5 more major areas that you never found with a million bosses everywhere. And sometimes that can feel a little overwhelming, and I actually do think this game might be a little overstuffed, but it's not because it can't handle that per se. I think it's just like a really long game. I think Metroidvanias being this long is a little like antithetical to the general genre. You know, Metroid games love to show you your time and how long it took you to beat it, and this game has just so much stuff in it. It's great, and I'm not saying this as like a real complaint or anything, but just know that Silksong is just a phenomenal game. And you've probably already played it at this point. If you haven't, go play the first Hollow Knight, get your bearings, come to Silksong, you'll be ready. It will be harder, and I think that is a good thing. I really like the difficulty on display here. I think it really is a mesh of good gameplay and storytelling, the way that the game is kind of limiting you where it does. It's so bold. It is so bold to make those choices, and they all pay off. This game is so good. It's a miracle. Like, a dev team spent 8 years making a sequel. They spent unlimited time. They literally were just like, yeah, we thought this was cool, so we added it. There was no problems with development. They were just having a good time, and the game comes out, and it's just phenomenal. This is the story I think we need to tell about this year, that a long dev cycle doesn't necessarily have to be filled with problems and bad stuff. They're just like people who like working on the video game. And I think only in the indie space, where you have smaller teams with potentially way higher margins of revenue, where you can just take that time. Your company has so much like money, especially gross from Hollow Knight over the years, still selling really well, that they can just do whatever they want. Maybe that's more of a testament to the original Hollow Knight, but you get to see all the fruits of their labor here, and I like this game more than the original Hollow Knight. And that's still a really good game that I've played like twice already. Silksong is like, it's magnificent. It is magnificent. I love it. That's it. That is the list. That is what I have for this year. A couple of things, obviously, if it wasn't here, then I didn't play it. Didn't play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, didn't play Arc Raiders or anything like that. I legitimately, if I played it this year and I finished it or I played it enough, I put it in here. 2025 was a really good year for games. What actually makes a good year for games, in my opinion, is not like the average quality of them, but it's the highs, right? Where were the highs this year? The highs were in Silksong, they were in Hades 2, they were in Donkey Kong Bonanza. There are so many games this year I'm going to look back on super fondly for years to come, that I get to say that I think 2025, it might not be a 2023, it might not be a 2020, it might not be a 2016, but it certainly is up there in like a 2017 era. I think it's like a 2018 era. Does that actually mean anything to anybody else? Maybe not. Maybe that's all arbitrary and dumb. If you play games you like this year, guess what? 2025 was a good year for games. So I don't necessarily think there's as much that I'm looking forward to other than like Resident Evil, but I'm excited to see what else is going to come out and what else is going to surprise me, because a lot of stuff this year surprised me, stuff I wasn't expecting to be as good, like Clair Obscur, like blueprints, you know? I'm hopeful for next year. I'm excited to dive into it. So thank you guys for watching this. Put down below what were your favorite games of the year, of course, but subscribe to this channel, like, do anything like that. Down below is the link to my second channel. You should check that out as well. And if you want to keep up with my game reviews when they come out, join my Discord down below, because I always post a little write-up on the games that I finished when I'm done with them in there. That's a good way for you to like kind of keep a gauge of where I'm at right when I beat something. Then you could go at the end of the year when I do this again and be like, how has my opinion of it changed, if at all? I think that's a fun time. Thank you guys so much. Peace out. I'll see you soon. Hopefully soon, sometime next week. Bye-bye.